We're two sisters who believe that the purpose of life is to enjoy, create, and have fun. We believe that as humans, we can have anything we want, and things are always working out for us. Experience has taught us that the path to getting everything we want begins with ease. If you believe in miracles and happily ever after, or even if you just want to, then this is the podcast for you. Hi there, I'm your host, Kayla Rain.
I'm your co-host, Adria Shea.
And welcome back to Attract It with Ease. Hey, Adria, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm really well. Tell me what you're grateful for today and why.
Today, I am grateful for auto mechanics because I, as you know, have a brand new car. And when I woke up this morning, there was something wrong with it. So thank goodness we were able to call somebody and get it in today. It's being looked at right now. If I had to figure out how to fix it on my own, then that would maybe never happen.
I don't know that I could fix much of anything on a car except maybe change a tire.
I'm so grateful people specialize in that and that they're local to me.
Absolutely.
Second thing I am grateful for is in that same vein, public transit, because that is what I'm going to be using until my car is fixed. Public transportation.
I think you said something about that a few weeks ago, and now it's interesting that, at the time you said, I rarely use it. Now it's something that's going to be well used for a little bit.
That's right. There are many days that I don't have to go anywhere because I have been fortunate to work at home, but I have some things coming up this week that I will definitely be taking advantage of public transportation.
Yay.
And the third thing is just my bed. The fact that I have a nice padded, comfortable bed. I'm so grateful for that. I look forward to getting into bed at the end of every day.
I look forward to getting into bed. And we talked on a prior episode about how I spend my morning routine. And so I always stay in bed extra long every morning. And that's one of the first things I think about. So I'm with you on that one. I'm grateful for my bed too. So you might be a little bit surprised about some of my gratitude today, especially the first one, because we haven't even talked about this. So I'm going to tell you and our listeners at the same time, but I am grateful because in the last week, I have reconnected with my ex-husband.
Wow. I'm shocked. I'm speechless. How could you not tell me this till the podcast?
So he actually reached out to me because of the podcast. He found our podcast. I have no idea how or where. I'm sure somebody probably told him about it, but he found our podcast. He listened to it and he was impressed, I guess. He loves it. And he sent me an email or a message. I have not talked to him in over 10 years. And we have a child together. You know that. I don't know if our listeners know that. We have a child together and I'm estranged from my child. I've mentioned that on prior episodes. I reached out to my child recently and he did not respond. I hope one day he'll have a little bit of a change of heart, but we have a lot to mend and repair. And I also have not been in touch with my ex-husband. So it was crazy to me that he reached out and he just was so kind and so sweet. And the crazy thing about it is that he is essentially a law of attraction personal coach. How weird is that?
Wow. That's incredible.
It's so incredible because, I was 18 when I fell in love and got married, and we've gone our different routes in life, and we are two totally different people. I would say that we have changed in two completely different directions. And to find out that on the different paths that we've taken in life, we've both become more aware of the law of attraction, and it's been life-changing for each of us to the point where we want to share what we know with others. I just think is incredible. And so I'm grateful to have reconnected with him, and it wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the podcast.
I really love that. That is beautiful.
Thank you. So the second thing on my list today is I am grateful for my ability to learn new things. And the reason I wrote this down is obviously in a new job. I have a lot to learn and I am picking things up faster than most people. At least that's what they're telling me. Maybe they're just feeding my ego, But I'm so grateful that I have the ability to learn new things. And I think about all the different things that I have learned or taught myself over the years. There's certain skills, like I wanted to learn how to do book folding years ago. And so I just read about it and figured it out. And now I can book fold. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's
I
actually
have no
kind of
idea.
a neat craft skill. You don't know what it is?
I have an idea. I have a picture in my head, but I have no idea if that's what it really
Okay, you
is.
have to Google it. Listeners, if you don't know, Google it too, because I haven't done it in years, but I have done several book folding projects, and it's actually kind of fun and therapeutic. I also taught myself to be an extreme couponer, and I haven't done that for many years, but for a long time, I was a very successful extreme couponer, and that's a whole other story. We could talk about that another day if you want, but there's so many skills in life that I have picked up over the years. And I'm one of those people, Adria, I think you are too, that's constantly looking to learn new things. And I'm just grateful for my ability to do that.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you. And so then my third thing that I have written down today is I'm so grateful for the sounds of nature. I live in a tiny house and it's small, it's a truck. So I hear a lot of outside noise in my home, more so than most people would in their home. And I just love that every morning I hear the birds singing. And last night we got a little bit of rain and we have a tin roof. And so the rain on the tin roof. And I just think about how wonderful it is to be surrounded by the sounds of nature. And I'm so grateful for that today.
That's wonderful. I love that you are constantly grateful for the little things that so many people might let go by unnoticed. I think that's beautiful.
Thanks. So, Adria, you actually inspired the topic for this week's episode. And I promise not to put you totally on. Well, no, I don't. I'll put you on the spot. I always do, but I won't share all of your secrets, I guess. But you have a decision that you're facing right now. And you have been going back and forth and back and forth. And this week, you sent me a text that said something along the lines of, I just wish I had a genie that could tell me what I should do. Share
So
what
true.
you feel comfortable sharing. You don't have to share the situation, but share kind of your emotions or feelings about the decision that you're making right now.
You know, it's interesting because on the one hand, I have long felt like I'm pretty intuitive and able to sense the answers to a whole lot of various things. And yet I'm also really indecisive with the big decisions in my life. And I feel like that is partly because I can always see the benefit of multiple options. I think that's a gift I have. And maybe part of it is just that I don't trust my intuition enough, but it's such that I feel like I'm not able to clearly sometimes ascertain what my intuition is telling me. And so I will make a decision and then I'll start to second guess it. And then I'll sometimes recommit or go back to the initial position. And then a few hours or days later, I kind of waffle. I go back and forth. And so that's how I've been about this decision. I have made this decision multiple times over the last few months. And then I keep revisiting the decision because there's this little voice in my head that says, oh yeah, but what about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a really good point. Let me rethink this whole thing. So I feel like if I had a trusted external source that I could trust implicitly, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't have this, but I feel like if I had that genie that said, this is the right decision, maybe I just need a magic 8-ball. They only give vague answers as well. I feel like if someone else said this is the right decision and I trusted that source, that genie, that fictional character, then I could say, okay, and move forward with no reservations. And maybe that's not even true.
Okay, so this whole conversation is what inspired today's episode, because today we're going to talk about decision making and decision making with the law of attraction. Now, some of the things that we're going to talk about today, we have discussed in prior episodes. In fact, I was really thinking back to, I think it's episode 3, where we talk about getting clear with what you want. Remember that episode where we were playing Let's Pretend and we talked about if life was perfect, if everything in life was perfect, what does life look like? And then we talked about how you can really identify what it is that you want in life by thinking about, okay, if there was no outside factors involved, what would I consider to be perfection? And so that can be absolutely a piece in helping us decide what we want, or when we're making a decision, realizing that it's more about, okay, take all of the factors off of the table and actually even remove the decision, get rid of option A or option B, or sometimes there's more than two options, option C, get rid of all the options and just focus in on what is it that I want. Because when you get clear with what you want, then you can bring the options back in and try and see if those align with what it is that you actually want. And sometimes none of them will align. Some of that, sometimes multiples will align. I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words. And other times one will be the clear answer. So sometimes just getting clear with what you want will help you make your decision. But I think we've also said this on prior episodes before, but I'm going to reiterate it. I want our listeners and you, Adria, to know, number one, that there is no such thing as a right or wrong answer. There is no such thing as, oh, I really should do this. There's no such thing as destiny, like, oh, that I'm destined to do this. I'm supposed to do this. This is the way it's supposed to turn out. That was meant to be. No, there's no such thing as that. And I'm sorry if I have listeners right now that are like really upset with me for saying that. And because maybe that's a belief of yours. But remember, a belief is just something that you think over and over and over again. It's just a repeated thought is a belief. So if you're struggling with what I'm saying, then maybe tell yourself something different and tell yourself over and over and over again something different, because a belief is literally just a thought that you think repeatedly and then you believe it. So I want to repeat that. There's no such thing as destiny. There's no such thing as something that you're supposed to be doing or you should be doing. And there's no such thing as a right or wrong choice. So Adria, before I move on from those statements, tell me why you think I'm saying all of that. Why do you think I believe so strongly that that's the case?
Well, I'm sitting here trying to decide if I agree with you, first of all. But I'm open to the possibility that you're correct. Let's say that. If there is not one right answer and all the other answers are wrong, then it takes some of the pressure off the decision. In some ways, to some extent, maybe the decision doesn't matter, because I do believe that something can be learned from whichever path you take. And I do believe that we're constantly shifting our direction in life based on the experiences that we're having.
Okay, those are all good thoughts. And I can see how your train of thought is different than mine. And your life experience obviously is different than mine, because although all of that is good, you're still kind of implying that one decision could have a negative outcome, but there's something to be learned from it. So it's like you're almost anticipating that one decision might be not as good, but you still could gain something positive from it. So then it results in a positive decision. And although that's true, you're attracting negativity with whatever decision that is. And it could be both. But in that train of thought, you still have the idea that you very well could have a difficult or challenging or hard or unwanted outcome that then you could flip into a positive result because you could learn something from it. And
Yes.
where I'm coming from is, no matter what you do, no matter what you choose, you can have whatever you want. You can have a positive outcome in anything. And so in my mind and in my core belief, I believe there is no such thing as a wrong decision or a you should do this or you should do that, because no matter which direction you choose, you can control how that works out. And what I mean is, you get to attract what you want. You get to decide what your future is. So let's just, for example, walk through a couple of decisions so that we can kind of identify what I'm talking about. So it's not just conceptual, we can kind of see it in real life application. If you recall, back at the beginning of 2020, I was looking for work. And was focusing on more of the feeling of what I wanted. I knew that I wanted something that was not high stress. I knew that I wanted something that wasn't direct sales. I knew that I wanted something where I could use my people skills. I knew that I wanted a good schedule, but there were just aspects of jobs that I wanted. There wasn't a set job that I wanted. So I literally was applying for a lot of different things because I was trying to open myself up to all the different things the universe could bring my way. Well, what resulted was the universe brought me a whole buffet of options and I got multiple job offers within a week or 2 weeks of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I got offered a job at a bank that I had applied for. I got offered a job at a car rental company, and I got offered a job as a train conductor. And listeners know which one I chose if you've listened to prior episodes, but let's talk through those. And there were positives with all of these jobs. The bank has a great schedule. Monday through Friday. Typically, you have Saturdays off. If you work Saturday, you're only working like a half day. You don't work evenings, but the bank job has lower pay than the other two. The car rental place, it was a management position, higher pay, had a job perk of you had a rental car you could drive every week. So basically, like a company car, you could get a new car every week. Just that sounded like a fun, cool perk and a fun job to work for. And then train conductor, some people would be like, oh my gosh, why would anyone want to be a train conductor? But then you've got me who loves to be challenged, loves to learn new things, loves to travel. And I'm like, who wouldn't want to be a train conductor? Like, I don't know anyone that's a train conductor. Like, this is the coolest job ever, right? So I'm sitting down, weighing my options between these jobs. And it's kind of like, what direction should I go? And I could be sitting here saying, I wish I had a magic 8-ball, or I wish I had a genie so that I could see which path would be the right one for me. But looking at those options side by side, none of them is right and none of them is wrong, because I could find happiness in any of those choices. There's positives in any of those choices. And so going back to what I started this episode saying, where if you get clear with what you want and you just remove all the options from the table and you just remind yourself, what is it that you're looking for? Well, that can help you make the decision, because I was looking for a decent schedule. That was important to me. Well, guess what? The job at the rental car place was a lot of nights and a lot of weekends. So if I really was being honest about what I wanted, although the job paid well and sounded really cool to have this car perk and be a manager and all of these things, it kind of removed that one from the options because I realized it doesn't really have a great schedule. So that's getting clear with what you want. I also knew that I wanted a certain type of lifestyle. I didn't want direct sales. Okay, well, I didn't have that at the bank. I didn't have that at the car rental place. And I didn't have that as a train conductor. So if I was looking at getting clear with that, all of those pieces fit. So it's literally identifying at your core, what is it that you want? And we've talked about this before. At the end of the day, what we want is we want to feel good. We want to be at peace. We want to be happy. We don't want stress. We want to be at ease. We want financial abundance. We want time. Like, these are the things that we want. And when you just identify it in those terms, there can be many options that the universe could bring you. And then when the universe does bring you those options, you could be in this situation where you're saying, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And so that's where I say there isn't a right, there isn't a wrong, because you could pick any of those three options. And number one, especially if you're aligned, you could find joy. You could find happiness. You could really appreciate that job. And if you're in alignment, when you attracted these things, all of them could be positive options. But to me, there's no, you should do this one or you should do that one. Because Adria, when I lay those out on the table, if you were offered all three of those jobs, you might have a preference. And I have no idea if you would want to be a train conductor. I did. Obviously, that was the one that I picked. But if you had three amazing options in front of you, how in the world could you say, I don't know what I should do because I don't know which one is right? But that's what we have a tendency to do, or a tendency to say, is we feel like one is right and one is wrong. And we're at this crossroads in life when we're like, which path do we take? So jump in here for a second, Adria, and comment on these three options that I have and tell me, do you believe that there is one that is right and one that is wrong?
I like what you're saying, but historically, I have made all of my decisions based on, or almost all of my decisions based on what I should be doing, or I'm really, I'm, I've spent my whole life comparing options. And I don't want to live that way anymore, but it's a habit that's dying really hard. And so it's very freeing to think that all three choices have equal merit. It's just so much for me to take in.
And you were not prepared for this topic because you're stressing over it. You're like, I want to believe, but I don't want to let go of my beliefs.
It's stuck to my heels. I'm trying to kick it off, and I'm still dragging it along. But it makes sense in why I'm having difficulty with my own decision, because there hasn't been a clear-cut front runner. You know, one of my choices is better in some ways and the other choice is better in other ways. I'm comparing two options. And so what you're saying does help explain why I have been wishy-washy in my mind, because I haven't been able to look at it and say one is clearly better in every aspect.
So going back to what I started with, if you take both options off of the table and you start at square one and you say, in my perfect life, what does life look like? Maybe neither one of the options completely fit, but you might be able to say one fits more than the other. And it's literally about, how do you want to feel? Where do you want to be? And I'm on the outside looking in, so it's easy for me to have an opinion on your situation, but it's not up to me.
You're like the proxy for my genie, Kayla. Did you know that?
It's not up to me to make that decision for you, though. I can't make that decision for you, and I can't guarantee your success or your joy or your happiness in either one of those decisions. And if you go into a decision believing that one is right or one is wrong, you're always going to be second guessing the decision that you made. No matter which decision you take, you're going to kind of still be living in the past saying, well, which should I have done? Maybe I should have done this. How would it have worked out if I had done the other one? Especially the minute that something starts to go astray in whatever decision you move forward with, you're going to start second guessing that decision. And you need to understand that you can have a positive outcome with any of the decisions. So let's move forward with my situation. We know now that I chose to be a train conductor, and there were a lot of reasons that I picked that, but it allowed the most freedom. It allowed opportunity to travel. It had the best benefits. It had the most pay. But then guess what? I took that job. I started training, and then COVID happened and I lost my job.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, you could say none of the decisions even mattered, because I would have probably ended up in the same position no matter which job I took. So here I took this big decision and I weighed it and I worried about it. And I mean, I didn't really, but if I had been really sitting and stressing over it and then finally stepped forward with one, well, not even 6 months later, I'm unemployed, and I probably would have been in any of those three jobs. None of them were considered necessary to stay open. And if I was a brand new employee, I probably would have been one of the first ones to go once they had to start cutting back. So you look at it in that aspect, and it's kind of like, how important are the decisions that we're making? Because they're just a stepping stone to the next decision. Just because you move forward in one direction doesn't mean you have to live with that decision for the rest of your life, but it could open doors to the next thing. And so it's not really placing so much importance and value on it. It's identifying and recognizing, this is how I want to feel. And does this option or that option align better with how I want to feel? And sometimes they're both equal. And so it really doesn't matter. Just pick one. If you literally have to flip a coin, flip a coin. But usually there is going to be one or the other. And Adria, in your situation, from an outside perspective, I feel like one feels safe and one feels scary. And now that's my opinion. I don't know if that's really
true.
I don't know if that's really where you're at. But I can understand why that would feel like a difficult situation, because you could be comfortable and happy with one, or you could be scared and unsure and nervous and uncertain with the other, but also know, well, if it works out, it could be also like super exciting and super happy and could push me. And so it's kind of like, well, do I stay where I'm comfortable or do I take a risk?
That's exactly it.
And so I think from an outsider's perspective, when you're not the one making the decision, it's like, well, hello, you can have whatever you want. You can control the outcome. So the risk really isn't a risk. So why would you not take the risk and push yourself out of your comfort zone? And again, I'm not telling you which decision to make, but it's easy to be on the outside looking in and say, oh, well, of course, do this one. So let's move into another option. Let's talk about risk for a second, because here's a decision that I'm facing right now. I have a little bit more money in my new job than I did in my prior. So I'm thinking about, well, what should I do with this money? And I've got some options. I have a 401k available to me that I could invest in. My employer will match up to 6%. So I could totally put extra money into a 401k and start saving. I also, and here's going to be a hot button, people are going to agree or disagree on this. I also totally believe that right now is the time to invest in certain cryptocurrency. So it's kind of, well, do I take that extra money and invest it in cryptocurrency, or do I put it in a 401k? Which one is better? Which one's going to have the better payoff? Which one is safer? Well, you could say one is safer. You could say one is totally a high risk. Then there's a third option. In my new job, I have the ability to buy cars at wholesale. I could literally take the money that I could put into cryptocurrency or put into a 401k, and I could buy wholesale cars and flip them. I could buy them at wholesale, sell them private, make a few $1,000s on a vehicle here and there. All of them have potential for a return on my investment. All of them have some risk. And it's kind of like, well, which direction do you go? Do you put it in the 401k where it feels safe and you know you'll automatically get a match for the first 6%? So you're automatically having 100% return guaranteed. But guess what? You're still investing it. So you're not guaranteed that you're not going to lose some of that money. It is an investment. The money will fluctuate, but it feels safe. Do you put it in cryptocurrency? Bitcoin right now in the last year has had, I don't even know how many hundreds percent increase, but a couple of years ago it was at 1,500 and now it's at almost $60,000 per Bitcoin. You could look at it and say, well, that's a huge return. That's a strong area, but truly Bitcoin it's all pretend. It's not even tangible. You could lose that overnight, whether it's Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency. That sounds risky. Flipping cars, it's like, oh, who wouldn't? If someone wanted to buy at wholesale and could flip it, but there's a lot of risk involved in that. What if it doesn't sell? What if you buy it and it suddenly has issues and now you can't sell it? What if you lose money on it? What if you're sitting on it? Cars are one of the highest, fastest depreciating assets. This is one of the decisions I'm faced with, but I'm going to go back to the answer of there's nothing you should or shouldn't do. There is no right or wrong choice. There's no such thing as destiny. I don't need a genie to say, oh, okay, I wish I had a genie that would tell me what prices for Bitcoin are going to be in 2 years or 10 years. I don't need a genie to tell me how my 401k is going to do before I retire. And I don't need a genie to tell me whether or not I should invest in cars. I can attract the outcome that I want no matter which path I take. I can focus on, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have a positive result. The universe always gives me what I want. No matter what happens, I always have a positive result because I go into every decision when I'm aligned. We talked about that on should I stay or should I go? Never take an action, never make a decision without first being in alignment. So if you're in alignment and you make a decision, it doesn't matter what the decision is. You're going to attract good things. You'll have a positive outcome, especially if you believe that, especially if you are constantly saying things are always working out for me. The universe has my back. If you believe those things, you will have a positive outcome. So there is no right or wrong. All right, Adria, I have talked to you about something that I don't know for sure if we've mentioned on the podcast, and that is that when the universe brings you the answer to something you're asking for, there will be no doubt in your mind. There will be no hesitation. It will be a hell yes. And I don't swear on this podcast. I don't normally talk like that, but that is how strongly I feel. When the universe brings you what you're asking for, you're going to want to jump. You're going to be like, heck yes, hell yes. This is exactly what I've been asking for. This is exactly what I want. So when you're facing a decision and it doesn't feel like a hell yes, well, that means one of two things. It either means it really doesn't matter. Pick any of them. It doesn't matter. Or it means your answer hasn't come yet. Adria, going back to your situation you're deciding on, when the opportunity first presented itself to you, I remember it feeling like a hell yes. I remember you describing it as a hell yes. And then as the process came about and you learned more and more about the decision, then you started to question it. You started to have more reservations. You still moved forward with that decision. And now you're in a situation where you're questioning your decision. And it may not feel like a hell yes anymore. And that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying it was the universe answering what you asked for. But what I am saying is when you put something out into the universe, whether it's a relationship or a job or a choice for what you should major in school or whatever, when the universe brings you your answer, you will have zero reservation. It will be a hell yes. And that was exactly what ended up happening for me with the train conductor thing. Was I actually had accepted the job as working for the car rental place. I had accepted the job. It was a conditional offer, so they were doing the background on me and I hadn't started yet. And after I'd accepted the job, while I'm waiting for the background to come back, I got the offer for the train conductor. And instantly it was like, oh my gosh, I know I just accepted a job. This is really embarrassing to go back and tell them no, but I really want to be the train conductor. This is my hell yes. And here's what's funny about this. If you've been listening to the last few episodes, I just started a new job that I'm so excited about. I love it. I am so in love with my new job. I love the people there. And guess what? I am being offered the job as a train conductor again. I'm expecting the call in the next couple of weeks. They haven't called yet. Well, technically they called and told me they were going to call, but I haven't got the official offer yet. And there's this piece of me that's like, well, I've committed to this new job, but that was my hell yes. What am I going to do? And you know what? I'll figure it out when that option comes. I feel like I'm going to stay with the job I'm in because I love it so much. But we have a buffet of options that will constantly come to us, especially when we're in alignment, especially when things are flowing. I said this on a prior episode, but the better it gets, the better it gets. When things get good, things only get better. And so those options are going to keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And don't get hung up in the decision making. Don't stress about, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? But what if this happens? But what if that happens? When you're focused on the what if, you're attracting the what if. Don't make a decision until you're in alignment. And when you make the decision, know that you were in alignment when you made that decision. And so that was the right decision. And guess what? No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, when you're in alignment, you can be happy and you can attract good things. And where you're at today, no matter what's going on, nothing is permanent. Nothing will stay the same. Everything is always changing. So it's okay. It's okay if you made a wrong decision. It's okay if you should have taken the other one, but guess what? You shouldn't. There is no should or shouldn't. But if you believe you should have taken the other one, guess what? You still don't have to stay where you are, because in every moment and every day, you get to decide what you want. You get to build your future. You get to decide what happens for you. You get to decide what makes you happy and what doesn't. And you can find joy in any situation. So, Adria, let's bring it back around. Tell me how you're feeling about decision making right now.
I like where this is going. It gives me a lot more confidence, I think, in making a decision. um, yeah, I think you've got some really good points. And looking back at my own situation, I remember feeling like this was definitely something to get excited about. And so this is helping me. Yeah.
Honestly, if you decided to change your mind on the decision that you made and go with the safe option, you could find happiness in that. But I guarantee you, even if that was the route that you chose, you're not going to stay in that same spot forever. And even if you move forward with the scary decision that you've made, you're not going to stay in that situation forever. Life is constantly evolving. The things that you want are constantly evolving. When we achieve the things we ask for, it only leads us to ask for more. And so it's all just a stepping stone to what's next. And so it doesn't really matter where you go because you can find joy in that decision. But it's not just a place you're arriving at and then, ta-da, I'm there. I got it. Because as soon as you're there and you got it, you want the next thing. You want the next, it's like booking a vacation. You're so excited, you plan it, you pay for it, you book it, you look forward to it. It's like this big, huge thing. And then you go and you love it and you enjoy it and then it's gone. It's not like you just never take a vacation again because you experienced it, you had it, you achieved it, you arrived. Like, no, as soon as you have that vacation, you now want another vacation. And you're either thinking about going back because it was so wonderful, or you're thinking about the next place you want to go to because it was so wonderful. And that's how we are in life. When we get the new car, we're happy for a while, but then that new car is not new anymore. And eventually we want another new car, or we want a different new car, or they come out with new features. Think about your phone, the cell phone. Right now, I have wanted a new cell phone for over a year, and there is nothing wrong with my cell phone. There's zero wrong with it. Everything works. It still holds its charge. It still holds its battery. The screen is in perfect condition. It is a perfect phone. There is nothing wrong with it. And for over a year, I've been thinking about phones, and I've been paying for it month to month. So I'm waiting till it's paid off before I get another one. But I'm looking at a new phone, and it dawned on me the other day. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with why do I even want a new phone? I just want it because I want it. That's how we are in life. We achieve things and it's fun and it's exciting and we appreciate it while for a period of time. And then we move on to wanting the next thing. And that's part of what life is about. It's about expansion. It's about evolving. It's about growing. It's about creating. And so we put all of this pressure on decisions, and they feel like big decisions. It could be big life-changing decisions. Should I move across the country? Should I take this job that uproots my family? Should I marry this person because then I'm closing off all the opportunities of every other person? Like there's these things that just feel so big, and they are big decisions. Don't take them lightly, but at the same time, you can find joy in whatever path you choose. You can attract the result you want in every decision that you make. And so when we're talking about the law of attraction, understand, number one, that you are in control. It's you're deciding. If you're worried about, well, what if this happens? Or what if that? Well, the only thing that's going to attract that is you. So stop focusing on it. Focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. Think about the whole quote of, what if it's better than you thought? What if it all works out? What if it's better than you could have imagined? Because you can attract that. And we've said before that typically when the universe gives you what you're asking for, it's almost always better than what you had pictured. So why not choose that outcome for whichever one you choose? Which one sounds more fun? Which one pushes you? Which one causes you to grow? Which one will open more doors? Walk through that door. And to me, and I realize I'm not typical. I know most people aren't like me. I'm a risk taker. Folks, if you don't know much about me, I have moved to different states 100% by myself. Let me think. I moved from Utah to California by myself. I moved to Indiana by myself. I moved to Arizona by myself. I moved to Las Vegas by myself. I moved to 4 different states completely by myself, knowing literally nobody in those places, because I like a challenge. I like to grow. I like to push. I like to evolve. I don't want to be stuck in the same old. That is one of the things that really attracted me to the concept of the law of attraction was I don't want to be the hamster on the wheel. I don't want to be the person that lives the same thing day over day, over day, over day, stuck in a job, feel like I can't control anything, can't improve my life. These are the decisions that I made, so I just have to live with it. Absolutely not. I will never be that person. Don't put me in a box. And to me, that's why I'm so passionate about the law of attraction is that I have learned that it is completely in my own control. And the decisions that I make can have any outcome that I want. I can't control people, but I can control results, and I can absolutely control how I feel. And so even when the stars are not aligned and things are not perfect, I can still find joy in those situations. I can look for the positives and I can attract a different and better situation. Either I can attract a better outcome in the situation that I'm in, or I can attract leaving the situation for a better situation. And so I want to go back and just remind our listeners to what we said on the episode a couple of weeks ago about should I stay or should I go? But it's all about alignment. And if you're worried and you're stressed and you're freaking out about the decision, don't take action. Don't make a decision until you can find alignment. Because if you take action, if you make a decision when you're not aligned, you will never ultimately have a positive outcome. You might have instant relief, you might have instant joy, but in the end, it will not end up being what you wanted because you were not in alignment. So you did not attract what you really were looking for. Adria, any thoughts on any of this?
No, I'm just in my head about how it applies to me, but I do like what you've said. And I think you're right.
That just sounds like you're appeasing me.
No, I'm really not. I do think you're right. This has been a good topic for me. So I hope that it benefits our listeners as well.
Well, I think sometimes it's easy to believe in the law of attraction, but then not really believe that it applies to every aspect of life. You know, it's funny because we know that we are inner being, we are not our body, but yet every day we live these human experiences and we get kind of sucked into whatever's right in front of us. And we believe that that's reality. Now, we had our episode that's called It's All Pretend, and we talk about how everything's made up. Like none of it's really real. Like matter isn't even solid. Like we think it is. It feels solid. We believe that what we see is all there is. And that's not the truth. But yet that is our experience. We live this human existence where we just believe what's in front of us and we forget who we are, and we forget that we really do have control. We forget that we are part of the universe. We are attached to all of these other things, and that energy that creates worlds flows through us. We are part of that energy. And it's easy to just kind of disattach ourselves from all of that and feel helpless and hopeless and feel like there is a right or wrong, and that we're supposed to do certain things, and that we came here for a reason and we need to find out what that reason is, and we have to find our life's purpose and we have to follow it. And, we have these things that we're trained or taught as humans that actually are not accurate. We are here to do whatever we want. We're here to make ourselves happy and to evolve and to grow. And every time we make ourselves happy, we want more. And it's okay to want more. And it's okay to be selfish. No one's going to put us first except ourselves. But in all of that, when we're truly aligned and we're aligned with our inner being, at our core, we are pure positive energy. We are love. And so in that, we want to help other people. We want to do good things. We want to give back because that is who we are at our core. So it's okay to be this selfish person. It's okay to choose things that are completely putting you first, because when you're in alignment, you will also do things that assist other people. You will also be there to support and help and uplift and inspire. And it's all a network. We're all connected. And I think the big thing I want our listeners to understand is it's okay. It's okay to make a decision. It's okay to step forward in something that feels selfish. It's okay to decide something that feels scary. And we've said this on the podcast before, but you've heard the quote that the one thing you should do is the thing that scares you the most, because that's what's going to grow you the most. Push yourself out of your comfort zone, no matter what the decisions are in life, because if you don't, you're never going to get to the next bigger thing. And that's part of what we're here for. We're here to evolve. We are here to expand life, expand thinking, expand thought. That's how things like the internet are invented, is because people do scary things. And if you have a thought of something that you want, why in the world would you not chase it? And when the universe offers it up to you and says, here you go. Yes, it can feel scary, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because it feels scary doesn't mean you should not take that move or should not move forward. In fact, you should look at it as an opportunity and say, I have control over the outcome of how this turns out. It is up to me. And I can focus on what I don't want, or I can focus on what I do want. And so that kind of leads me to our action item for our listeners this week, Adria. Do you have any guesses on what I'm going to encourage our listeners to do?
Do something scary?
Pretty much.
Let's hear it.
Our action item is to push yourself and take a risk that scares you. I think we all have things in life. It could be something like investing in Bitcoin. And there's probably people listening going, I have no desire to do that. And there's probably people listening this for saying, that's silly. I've already done that. But there's things in life, opportunities that come our way. It could be skydiving. Maybe you really want to skydive, but it scares the crap out of you. And you're like, I don't know if I should. That sounds like a bad decision, right?
It does sound very dangerous.
There's things in life that we want to do and opportunities that presents itself. And so many times we choose not to step forward, not to walk through that door because it's scary. It can be scary to change jobs. It can be scary to ride a motorcycle. It can be scary to do so many things. And yet people everywhere are doing these things all of the time, and they're okay. It could be scary to want to cut your hair. It could be scary to come out as being gay or transgender or whatever. It could be scary to make these decisions, but that doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. It just means you need to remember who you are. Remember that you have source energy flowing through you. The power that creates worlds is inside of you at this moment, and you can call upon that energy. You can ask for the things that you want. You can control the outcome. So when you know that you're in control, why is it scary? Because you don't trust yourself? Like, really, why is it scary? If you knew that you would have a positive outcome, you would leap at the opportunity. So just know that you'll have a positive outcome. Take the fear off of the table. Understand that the how is not up to you. You don't have to figure it out. Don't worry about how. Don't worry about when. It will work out if you believe it. If you're focused on it working out, if you believe it will work out, then there's no reason to be afraid.
I love that. I think that makes it really exciting.
Thanks. So that's our action item for our listeners. So some ideas about things that might be scary. Travel by yourself. Go somewhere. Take that trip. There's somewhere you want to go and no one that has time off, or that you no significant other to travel with you. Guess what? Go do it yourself. That sounds so scary. Travel to another country or go commit to a marathon. That sounds scary to me. Like training for a marathon. Yes. Oh my gosh. But if it's something that you've always wanted to do, commit to it. It sounds scary, but guess what? You will be successful if it's something that you want to do. Maybe it is moving to a new city. Maybe it is leaving the job. Maybe it's looking for a job. Maybe it's leaving the relationship. Maybe it's, I don't know, cutting your hair. Like, it's okay. All of it's okay. It's scary to make some decisions in life. But if you knew without a doubt, you would have a positive outcome no matter what you decide, you take the fear off of the table. So just know that you're in control and you can decide that you will have a positive outcome if you believe. So that's our action item for our listeners. And Adria, I'm really sad to say that this week we don't have a winner.
Oh, my
We
word.
have no winner for a bracelet. And here's why. We actually do have a couple new reviews. We have a few new star ratings on Apple Podcasts, but you can leave a star rating without actually writing a review and without giving your name. And so I have no one to give credit to for our new reviews. So listeners, I'm going to plead with you one more time. Please leave us a review. Write something, even if it's one word. We had a one-word review. Write something about how the podcast is helping you. Let us know what you think of what we have to say. Are you learning anything? Do you feel inspired? Have you done any of the action items? Do you have any questions? What is your theme word for the year? Share these, write reviews for us. That's how we grow. And we do still have an ongoing contest for the whole year of 2021. Adria, do you want to tell our listeners what I'm talking about?
Yes, each week we will draw the name of someone who submitted a review on one of our sites, on one of the sites that you can find our podcast. And that person will receive a custom bracelet with their theme word of the year.
That's right. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to episode 1. Episode 1 is all about your theme word for the year. The first 10 episodes of our podcast are our Jumpstart module. They're designed to go together to help you jumpstart manifesting everything your heart desires. We also have a free workbook to go with those first 10 episodes. You can download that for free on our website, attractitwithease.com. Anyway, it was great chatting with you, Adria. I hope that this will help you in your decision making, and I look forward to talking with you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.